Do you want to burn the table down with landfall triggers? Well, I have just the commander for you. Hello everybody and welcome back into the fort. My name is Tyler Saves You Bucks and I have 14 cards for under $14 to get you started on a brand new card coming in Edge of Eternities. It is Tannuk, Memorial Ensign. This is a new Gruul Landfall commander, which on the face of it might sound like we have several of those already, but I actually really like the take this one has. Let's read it and get into the list. It is 1 red and a green for a 2/4 Kavu pilot. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, Tannuk deals 1 damage to each opponent. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, draw a card. It has wording similar to some other cards we got in Capenna, where, you know, it does something on the second time. I think I'm thinking of like Rumor Gatherer is one of them. But when it comes to this card, you will get to deal damage to each opponent every time a land enters except for that second time. So in this list, I'm going to cover some ways to get at least 2 land drops, maybe 3, maybe even more, and all under $14. And I think that this deck, unlike a lot of other landfall decks, will actually be good to build on a budget. Basically, you just need to fill it with lands. They can be utility lands, basic lands, whatever you want to be getting those land drops, and then just fill the deck with ways to put extra lands onto the field that will lower everybody's life total and help draw you that extra card each turn. Let's not bury the lead too much and get right into the list. First up, we're going to look at Zell. This is from Final Fantasy, a character that I really liked as a kid. I'm happy I did not go with the whole face tattoo phase. You're welcome, Mom. It is 2 and a red for an 0/3 human monk. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. It gets +1/+0 for each land you control, and then at the beginning of your end step, return a land you control to its owner's hand. That drawback of taking a land from the field and putting it into your hand is not actually that big of a deal in this deck, because you want to always be hitting a land drop and another land drop to keep drawing cards, and this helps with both of those things. Plus, in a deck like this, and I'll talk about it towards the end, you do want some MDFCs, so spells that are lands on one side and a spell on the other. If you play one of those as a land, and then you can pick it right back up to use it later. Like I said, it's not in the main 14 here, but I'm just going to highlight that in a little bit. Mina Den Wild. This is 2 red and a green for a 4/4 elf ally. You may play an additional land on each of your turns, and then you can pay 2 mana to return a land to your hand, and a creature gains trample until end of turn. That ability could come in handy, but you do want those extra land drops, and this is very helpful for getting those. And like that, you can pay 2 mana, bounce a land back, and play another land again, draw a card. It's a nice card in this list, and it's climbed up in price, and now it's gotten back down to around $1, as you can see on TCG, or around $2 for Card Kingdom. Summer Bloom is a way to, let's not play around anymore. 2 mana, you can play 3 additional lands this turn. In this deck, if you're drawing multiple cards, and I do think you should run well over 40 lands in this deck, turn 2, or not even turn 2, I would say play Tannuk, have this out, and then play this. You're going to deal at least 3 damage with those additional land drops, and then maybe you have another land drop, you draw a land. This is a nice card for this deck. Druid class is another way to get more additional land drops, and it's also really good for the curve of this deck. You pay 2 mana, and whenever a land enters, you gain 1 life. So now you're dealing damage to your opponents and gaining life, kind of buffing out your life total if people are putting the aggro towards you. And then you can pay 3, and you can play an additional land on each of your turns. So why I say that's good for the curve is turn 2, you can cast this. Then turn 3, you cast your commander. Then turn 4, you can level this up and play 2 lands, draw that card, deal damage. Very nice. And then the final ability turns one of your lands into a creature. Loot. Exuberant Explorer. Exuberant, that's what it is. I don't think he's absorbing things. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's been a long day. 2 and a green for a Beast Noble 1/4. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Again, that's what the deck wants to do. And when it comes to that other ability, now you can do 6 mana, look at the top 6, you can reveal a creature card. It's just something to put all that mana that you're generating in this deck into that ability there, because you can cheat out something big, or another one of these value pieces. They're both very good for the deck. Harrow. Now this is just some standard ramp. I love Harrow a lot, and the big reason for it is because, let's read it, it is 2 and a green for an instant that has an additional cost to sacrifice a land, but you search your library for 2 basic land cards and put them onto the battlefield and shuffle. I think people don't often notice this about Harrow. You put them onto the battlefield untapped, making this card feel almost like you cast it for 1 mana. And in this deck, that's very, very good, because you're going to get both of those triggers for your commander. At somebody else's turn, you can basically deal a damage to everybody and draw a card on the end step before your turn. Very nice. And Sakura Tribe Elder, which is 2 mana for a 1/1 Snake Shaman. Sacrifice this creature, search your library for a basic land card, and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. This is another way to kind of have an instant speed way to... people can see it on the battlefield, but it's that, just again, it's like, hey, I can crack this right now and deal damage. And that's always nice to kind of hold up. Plus, Steve, as players like to call this creature, is always a fan favorite. Now let's talk about some ways to get a lot of lands onto the battlefield all at once. World Soul's Rage is X, red and a green for a sorcery. It deals X damage to any target, and then you can put up to X land cards from your hand and or graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. Super great in this deck. You're ramping all the time. You might have a bunch of lands in your hand because your deck is full of them. You can have a bunch in your graveyard because of Evolving Wilds or a fetch land, anything in that sense. But you can deal damage right to somebody's face and then put a bunch of lands into play and deal a bunch of damage to everybody else. This is potentially a game ender, and for only 28 cents. Thanks, Murders at Karloff Manor. Jiharas Respite is 4 and a green. For an instant, search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle, and then prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. This is a way to turn your opponent's win into everybody's loss, because they're attacking you. You're going, say, with 5 creatures, you get 5 lands, dealing 4 damage to everybody, drawing a card. It's really, really good, especially if they're attacking all out and you then just prevent all that damage. This is part of the reason why you need to put a lot of basics in this deck, though, because you don't want to run out, trust me. Nihiris Lithoforming is X, red for a sorcery. Sacrifice X lands. For each land sacrificed this way, draw a card, and then you may play X additional lands this turn, and they enter tapped. Another possible game ender. If you just have a whole bunch of mana, sinking that mana into an X spell is just what Commander is here for. And this is a way to draw a bunch of cards, deal a bunch of damage, draw another card with your Commander, and kind of clear the way. Even if you sacrifice a whole bunch of lands, this is a landfall deck. You're probably going to have extras to play. And again, maybe there's a few ways to get some of the lands from your graveyard back to the battlefield, like our first one we talked about, the Murders of Karloff Manor one. Oh, hey, look, we have Willow the Saltie. I think this gets lands back. 4 and a green for a sorcery. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast this spell, you may choose both instead. Target player mills 3 cards, then return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and then put X 1/1 counters on target creature, where X is the number of lands you control. It gains trample until end of turn. Both are kind of game-ending things here. Think about this in the deck. You have your commander out. You cast this, mill 3 cards. Say you have several lands in your graveyard. You get a bunch of them back on the battlefield. That's a bunch more damage to everybody. And then you put all those counters onto your commander, giving it trample, punching through, taking somebody out. This deck is, that's why I kind of like it, as opposed to a lot of other landfall decks out there, because it really is like, it's burning the table down and getting them lower and lower while you're building your mana up and drawing cards in the process. It's really cool. Savotender is just some redundancy for your commander. It is 2 mana for a 2/1 plant with reach, and whenever a land you control enters, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Does part of what your commander does, so if people see the writing on the wall and keep removing Tannuk, this is a good way to keep that plan rolling. And speaking of keeping the plan rolling, we have Ria, Summoner of Mist. This is also 2 mana for a 1/2 landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And then it has a way to bring a saga back from your graveyard. But again, in this deck, this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to make a bunch of land drops and potentially draw into bigger spells. And if your commander keeps getting answered, this is a way to keep that plan moving. And then finally, for the 14, let's close it out with, of course, Keen Sense. I think a lot of players, when they first saw Tannuk, was like, oh, Keen Sense. Let's just read it. 1 green for an enchantment aura. You enchant a creature, and whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, draw a card. You may draw a card. That can come in handy sometimes if you're going to die to drawing. Let me say this. It's such a great card in this deck. I wish there were more ways to tutor it up into your hand if you really needed it. It is insanely strong when you're able to play a land, deal a damage to each opponent, draw that many cards, play another land, draw a card, and then play another land, deal all that damage, draw that many cards. Like, it's crazy, and it will snowball in this deck. It's definitely worth the $2 it's going right now. So that is the 14 cards for under $14. I think altogether it's around $12 through TCG Player. But I wanted to just highlight a few more things, like I said at the start of the video. I like Promising Vein. I just did a video recently about my favorite budget lands in Commander. I went over 100 budget lands, so you should check that out after this video. And this is a way that I would help keep up the landfall in this deck. Evolving Wilds and those types of things are great, but this is a way that it can come down, tap for mana if you need it at that time, sack it, go find a land, get another land drop moving. There's a few other ones. I think Shire Terrace is another card that does a similar thing. So just keep an eye out for these cards that you can play to get mana out of them, but also sacrifice them to get that extra land drop. And then Restless Ridgeline, I would say put a lot of creature lands in this deck. Not too many, because most of them come into play tapped, but in this deck where you just want, anytime you draw a card, I have a feeling you're going to hope most of the time that it's a land, so you can play an additional land that turn or whatever it is, and putting the ability to turn that into a creature, like say this one, which is also in that list of budget lands. It's just another way to give you board presence while not taking down the land count. And then finally, Stomp, which turns into Burn Willow Clearing, so a tapped dual land there on the back. But on the front, it's a fight spell. Yes, it's at sorcery speed, and fight spells are a little risky. But again, this is a way to give you interaction in this deck while not putting you down in lands. So I would be sure to take a look at some of the MDFCs in your bulk to put into this list, because maybe they don't do a lot, but hey, it's always going to be a land drop when you need it. And Stomp, I mean, it's just fun to say. Say it right now. Stomp. Most of you didn't even say it. But there you go. That is Tannuk, Memorial Ensign. I like this character in the story, and I like this deck a lot. Let me know what you guys think about this card in the comments. Check out some of my EDH Rec articles as well, linked here and in the description, because I'm covering more and more Edge of Eternities content for them, and more and more Edge of Eternities content for all of you here on the channel. So I hope to see you guys next time in the fort. Goodbye.